They had so much fun. They worked really hard. And I want you to know that the director of this group is Jeff Schmidt. Jeff is on an airplane as we speak this morning, flying back to the mainland to be with his family. So we want to acknowledge him and the great, wonderful hard work of all of them. And what a perfect song. Because normally, if you come to our church on a regular basis, you know that the last Sunday of every month is what we call an Aloha Sunday. And on an Aloha Sunday, we always speak to some Hawaiian theme. We usually speak to a proverb that there was collected in a wonderful book of Hawaiian wisdom sayings, and I speak about that proverb. And we do that so that we can connect more deeply with the culture of these islands and with the people of this land. It just happens that Christmas falls on the last Sunday of the month. And so we decided that we would talk about having a Hawaiian Christmas. It is different. Although you can tell the people who live here and those who don't, because those of us who've lived here for a long time, we're really cold. We're the ones with the sweaters and the, and the sweatshirts and everything. And the rest of you who are visiting from Saskatchewan and other places, you're going, you people are crazy. When you live here long enough, you get very acclimated to the weather. And believe it or not, we have winter. It's just a little more subtle. But it's still winter for us. There are lots of interesting things that we can do to think about having Christmas in Hawaii. It may seem like for some people that that's a difficult thing to do, but it really isn't. Christmas is not a natural phenomena here in the islands. It's not an indigenous celebration, as you can imagine. The very first recorded celebration of any kind about Christmas happened in the year 1786. There was a Captain George Dixon. He was on a ship called the Charlotte that was docked in Waimea Bay off the island of Kauai, and they happened to be there over Christmas. And he ordered his chefs to prepare ham and grog, and they gave toast to their families, and it was entered in the logbook, and that became the very first acknowledgement of Christmas in Hawaii. Of course, the missionaries came in 1820 from New England, and they brought Christmas in all of its seriousness to the people here in the Kingdom of Hawaii. And then in 1856, Alexander Liholiho, who was known as Kamehameha IV, who was the king of the islands in those days, proclaimed that Christmas would forever be a day of thanksgiving in the Hawaiian kingdom. And 2 days later, Santa Claus made his first appearance at Washington Place, which was then the royal palace in those days. In Hawaii, Santa Claus usually is pictured on a surfboard or on an outrigger canoe because people in Hawaii don't have chimneys and sleighs, and nobody in Hawaii knew what a reindeer was. In fact, in Hawaii, Kanakaloka is the Hawaiian word for Santa Claus. And Lenekia, can you imagine what that word is? That's for reindeer. Lenekia. Now, these words are what we call in the Hawaiian language sound-alike words. They don't have any meaning in and of themselves. The best example I can give you is the Hawaiians did not know what a petticoat was. The missionaries brought a petticoat. So there was no word for petticoat. The Hawaiian word for petticoat is pelekoke, because it sounds like petticoat. So I think that Kanakaloka sounds a little bit like Santa Claus, I suppose if you have salt water in your ears. And then Lenekia sound a little bit like reindeer, I guess. But they don't have any meaning of their own, but they're sound-alike words. They're part and parcel of the culture here in Hawaii, which is lovely. So the question I wanted to put to you this morning was just to wonder, if you happen to be here over Christmas, what does a Hawaiian Christmas look like, and how is it different for you than it might be for other people? I have some ideas that I'll share with you that I think are kind of interesting and fun things to play with. The first is what we call Calabash families. Hawaii has a tradition that's not Hanai, it's called Calabash family. When food was served, there was a giant calabash where the poi was. The calabash is a big wooden bowl, and the poi was set in the middle of the table. And the Hawaiian style is you eat with your fingers, and everyone who was at the table would dip into the calabash and would eat from the same bowl. That was part and parcel of the way of joining family together. In my family, we had a rule that everybody had to be home at 5:30 because that was dinner. No matter what you were doing, 5:30 was our together time at dinner, and there were probably no excuses acceptable. In the Hawaiian culture, it was the calabash when you sat around the table eating with a family. How that translates into culture is that a lot of us who live here, not only those who have just moved here, but even the Hawaiian people, because there are more indigenous native Hawaiian people living outside of the state of Hawaii than there are living in the state. It is a very spread community. And even those of us who live here often have blood relatives that live somewhere else. And so we create what is known in the Hawaiian culture as a calabash family. Those are a family of choice. And let me tell you, at Christmas, sometimes it's so lovely to be with that family as opposed to some of the other families that people have to deal with, because these are the people you choose to deal with and you choose to have in your life. The Calabash family, and they serve to be all of the functions of a family, supplying love and support and friendship and gifts and all of those things at Christmas. And anyone can create a Calabash family. If you're here visiting, you probably started to create some Calabash family, and people just open arms to that. There's no requirements, nothing written about it. It's just a gesture of aloha. And it's a nice way that we have a Christmas that is filled with family and friends that is a little bit different sometimes from the kind of Christmases that people have at home. The other thing is that we have different cultures here in Hawaii that make Christmas rich. We have different cultures with their own history of traditions. We have a lot of Japanese here in Hawaii. And Japanese have a whole culture of giving that is different from the culture I grew up in. Now, when I grew up and you go to someone's wedding, you bring a gift, right? In the Japanese culture, you can bring a gift, but what is even more important is that every guest who comes to a Japanese wedding receives a gift. Isn't that nifty? So you really want to be invited to Japanese weddings. Because in order to save face, you need to give a very nice gift. And I've got some really lovely things from Japanese weddings. They have this sense of giving that is really built into their culture that's kind of above and beyond what we have normally grown up in. And that translates and shows up a lot around Christmas time. In the Japanese culture itself, there is a character, kind of a cross between a priest and a god, called Hoteosho. Hoteosho comes around Christmas time. He's an ancient Japanese character. He's kind of an old man, and he carries a bag, and he gives gifts to children, believe it or not. But he has eyes in the back of his head. So children know that they have to behave when Hoteosho is around. It's very much like Santa Claus, but it isn't a Santa Claus. It's their own kind of version of that. The Chinese culture here in Hawaii contributes, probably the most important thing it contributes is firecrackers, which is a very strange thing to have around Christmas and New Year's if you're not used to that. Firecrackers will be going off all over town, and it's just part of the great noise and celebration that happens at Christmas. Now, the Filipinos love Christmas probably more than any other culture in the world, and they represent the largest cultural group here in Hawaii. I know people that get sort of upset when they see Christmas decorations pop up around Halloween. You would never last in Manila because they come up around June or July in Manila. They love Christmas. The Philippines is the only Asian country in the world that is Christian by national design. The only one. And they love their religion, which is Catholic, and they love Christmas. I'm going to show you, this is a typical Filipino Christmas decoration that would be at every house in the Philippines, and the name is Poro. And this will be lit up in the house. See, every house will have one of those, and much, much more. The trees will be up, and they'll be decorated. It's very colorful, and they're all over the world. So I thought I'd just let that go for you so you can have a little taste of all these different cultures. The Polynesian culture, which is kind of the base of the Hawaiian people here, many of those have their different gift-giving traditions. Underlining all of those is a tradition from the Maori culture. a tradition that involves a phenomenon known as the hau, H-A-U. The hau it's kind of an aura, an energy that is given from the person to an object. So, for example, if I had a gift that I was touching, and I was going to give this gift to you as a Polynesian, particularly a Maori, and I gave you this gift, it would not only be a gift, but it would be a gift that has my energy in it as well. Now, in the Hawaiian culture, that word is different. The hau tree is the tree from which twine is made in rope, which has its own metaphysics of entanglement. But the ha, which is very similar, is in Hawaiian tradition called the sacred breath, and it's that source of life. So in the Polynesian culture, the giving of a gift carries with it not only the gift, not only a happy wish, but it actually has my personal energy, and I give it to you. Now that's a very powerful concept and idea itself. So when we live here, we get a little taste of all of those things, which make a Hawaiian Christmas a really fantastic experience, not only for the cultures, but also for all of the activities that go on. And of course, the onolicious food. If you're visiting and you don't know that, ono is a word meaning delicious. So this is onolicious, is kind of a pidgin word meaning really good. I mean, you think pumpkin pie is nice? Put some coconut cream in there and see what happens. And you have a coconut pumpkin pie or haupia cake. And we have other bizarre and interesting things at Christmas, like poke, which is raw fish and seaweed. But trust me, it's really good if you're visiting and you're not sure about those things. There's an exoticness and a great diversity that comes when you live here that makes a Hawaiian Christmas different and special. Maybe the most important thing to me, though, is always this. At every Hawaiian party or gathering, there is music and dance. Now, I don't mean that they've paid for people to come in and do music, although when you go to a lot of parties, they'll have paid musicians. At a Hawaiian party, when people have been finished eating, because that's always the most important thing, is you finish your eating, there is a time of sharing of music and dance. It's called Kanikapila. It's a time when we just get up and people just, from the party, will get up and start to dance, and they will start to sing, and somebody will swing out the ukulele and they start to play. And there is always an impromptu concert. And at Christmas time, it's no exception. There will always be this kind of experience. So we're gathered here today, and I thought that really the most important thing we could probably do is to have a little Kanikapila with you. There are some folks in our congregation that have been practicing for the last 6 weeks to share a dance with you on Christmas Day. So I'm going to invite them to come up right now in the spirit of Kanikapila and share a hula with you on this beautiful Christmas morning. This song was written by a wonderful woman named Ka'ena Ke Aloha, and it's about Christmas in the tropics. We all know there was no snow when Christ was born so long ago. No blustering winds swirling round, no one-horse sleigh sliding o'er the ground. So when I dream of Christmas, the night is calm and mild, and stars are shining overhead to honor the Christ child. The gently waving palm trees hush their rustling sound, and there's a holy silence embracing all around. So when When I dream of Christmas, the night is calm and mild, and stars are shining overhead to honor the Christ child. When I dream of Christmas, the night is calm and mild, and stars are shining overhead to honor the Christ child. Stars are shining overhead to honor the Christ child. That is the real spirit of a Hawaiian Christmas. Thank you guys so much. That was beautiful. What I guess I'm trying to get you to experience today is the many wonderful ways that you can have Christmas, because many folks that are here are sometimes feeling a little bit disconnected. They're away from family, or they're not feeling as close as they think they should. We can feel that. We can feel it here in our own real special and unique way, a way that no one else in the world can. You can have a wonderful Hawaiian Christmas. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes with me for just a moment. We're going to come into a time of meditation, and I just invite you to feel and to hear the sounds of the islands, to think about the family and the friends that you have around you here, the many wonderful ways to acknowledge that spirit as we come together in the sacred and holy silence.